you want to record an episode?
Yeah, speaking of ships.
I was trying to rope us back in.
I heard it, but then I didn't follow your lead, but I heard it. I appreciate it.
Also, today in the cup is the elixir of youth, which is red Kool-Aid.
Ooh, I haven't had red Kool-Aid in so long.
Yeah, okay, we need to solve a debate as long as time.
Okay.
When I say red, what flavor is that?
Fruit punch.
No, you're wrong.
What do you drink? Do you drink cherry? No! Ew, no! You're dead to me.
I've never been too much. It has always been cherry. To take all those notes.
Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax.
Now, I have a very important question to ask you at the top of the show.
Yeah.
And please know that I can see if you're lying to me.
Right.
Have you opened this outline until this moment?
Yes. No, I did it. Yeah, I opened it. Actually, it should tell you.
That's what I'm saying. I can see if you're lying to me.
Yeah. It should say like when I made adjustments to it, because I even filled in my ships.
I've never been more proud of you.
I filled it in. I was like, you let me I think I did it probably yesterday.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
See? Mm-hmm.
I've never been more proud of you.
Look at me. Hey.
I'm judging you a little bit, but that's okay. Oh.
I mean, let's just I did it.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to introduce ourselves, starting with you.
Okay, I guess if we're starting with me. Hi, my name is Aisha, aka MommaLuvsManga, and I am a mom who talks about manga on the internet. That's it.
That's so succinct. I love it.
I'm trying to get better at that, and just leaving it at that instead of acting awkward like I am right now. So let's just move on.
That awkward. You made it awkward by saying it was awkward. My name is Amanda, also known as AichiYume, and I am a hot take prince who screeches on the internet about feminism and representation.
See, I liked yours is better.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about our favorite, or one of our favorite topics. One of them. Yeah. There's lots of them, but one of our favorite topics.
Lots of them?
I have lots of them.
Do we collectively have lots of them? Yeah, it's one of our favorite topics, I guess, since we are apparently married and
we're a unit. We're in this now. We're in this now. I don't know what you were thinking.
We're going to be talking about shipping today, which is something that actually we hosted a poll over on our Twitter. Shameless plug. We love all 100 and something of you.
Yeah, which happened
very quickly. Yeah, we love all of you. So thank you. So we ran a poll because we were basically in our last episode, the Fumi Yoshinaga special. We said that we were going to cover boys love webcomics.
Right, which I cut out because I wanted to save our butts, but we did say that.
But we did say that originally. Thank you, Aisha, for making me not a liar. I appreciate it. In our open marriage, thank you for not making me a liar. So it's not that we're not going to cover that. Just as we were talking, Aisha and I, your parents,
right,
your parents, as we were talking about it, it really came down to there was another topic that we also wanted to cover. Mm-hmm. So don't worry, we're still totally covering boys love webcomics just next month because we're still somehow a month ahead, which is beautiful because time is a myth.
Right. I'm so glad. I don't know how we managed that, but I'm so
I think it's a lot of screaming and holding each other to task.
Yeah, you're really good at that. At the holding people to task.
So we're talking about shipping. And we're going to go over the history of shipping, and the glory days of fandom. Basically, this episode is just entitled Amanda jerks off sadly for an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, Aisha watches.
While Aisha watches. First, we're going to go over some history with a very, very labored metaphor that to this day, one of my friends was very, very upset with me for learning, which is, and I think I say this almost every episode, or at least every live stream we've had, is that in ye old glory days, this was all a giant naval combat metaphor. Right. This was all a giant naval combat metaphor. So, like, I need you to put on your One Piece hat for a minute. When we talk about ships, I mean, a better maritime anime hat. I don't know. Are there any other good maritime animes? No. Fuck. We're both so sad having to acknowledge that. But this was all a giant metaphor for naval combat. So you have your ships, a boat. You have it's a boat. It is a boat. You have your cannons and your head cannons. You go to war sometimes, and we'll go into further detail with all of this. But I think understanding that at the heart of this is combat, I think is very, very important. And when I say combat, I do not mean cruelty.
Right.
And I think that was one of the biggest parts about it being like a naval combat thing, because there is this understanding, I'm using quotes, which actually you guys can see now. Usually I have a lot of like gesturing that other people can't see outside of me and Aisha. But understand that there's like a certain like level of gentlemanly combat to this. Like it isn't, you don't just steamroll into someone and, you know, punch out their mom and call them a slur and you know, steal their goods. Like there's a certain level of code to a lot of the stuff that the old guard, which I will say that I'm a part of, had. And when we're talking about this, really, we're talking glory days of fandom, our Gloriana, which was like early days of the internet. So we're talking like Tumblr before they decided to ban porn, Zanga, which dated me 1,000 years, fanfiction.net, Quizzilla. And also, one thing that I didn't include but came to me when I was writing was we also had like a lot of like just like static HTML pages, because a lot of us at that time were learning basic HTML, and we would just make our own fucking pages. Like, here's a page I have dedicated to this one pairing. Like, I'm pretty sure I did that. I actually have an early HTML site I built on one of my flash drives.
That is so cool. I missed out. I'm just saying, I missed out because I didn't have a computer at my house.
Well, I learned it in school. Like, it was like one of those like dumb things that we were learning like in school. I say dumb. That's the most practical skill I've learned outside of like sew.
Yeah.
Like, I learned how to sew and type, and I learned how to use HTML.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the most helpful skills I've learned in, oh God, pre-K to an undergraduate degree of schooling. Which is how many years?
Isn't that that's depressing? When you think,
I mean, we're not here to talk about the American education system.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna say, let's talk about it.
Oh my God.
This is the Yaoi podcast.
Yaoi podcast. But in those early days, we were all at war with each other, again, much like One Piece, but we tried to be chill, despite a certain level of maritime distrust that we all have with other fans. So there were people that agreed with us, but even the people that agreed with us often had different reasons for that. And I say distrust, and I mean that very lovingly. Like, I think the thing is that while I think you need to look at fandoms back then as like being brothers and sisters, and I mean this purely, that we all loved each other, but we didn't like each other.
Right, that's fair.
We all loved each other. We were all a part of this thing, and if you saw them at con, you wouldn't wish any ill upon them. You wouldn't be like fucking showgirls and, you know, throw a bunch of beads on the stage and you watch them fall, unless you hated them. You did during the cosplay contest, which I've never done. So, you know, but we didn't always like each other. And that's, I think, honestly, the best approach to fandoms is we are all in this together, but keeping that little bit of distance is great, because when you are constantly being challenged, you have to remember that the thing you're talking about is being challenged, not you, the individual. So one of the big reasons why I liked this naval combat metaphor is that, so if there's a given series and Aisha and I disagree, so like let's just imagine a pairing and let's say I disagree with you, which is probably real. Which is probably real somewhere.
We'll say, what are the characters from Twittering Birds that I said that I liked that I wish that
you said Kagahina.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I agree with that one, but let's say I don't. I can't disagree with it.
It's a good one. I like
say that I'm bitter and I still want Yashiro to have his unrepented feelings.
Okay.
There we go. So that's actually like a logical setup. I'm wrong, but logical setup. So if I'm attacking your ship, I'm attacking your ship. I'm not attacking you.
Right.
If you were to counter, you're attacking my ship. You're not attacking me. Right. So you're not saying, Amanda, you're an idiot for feeling that way. On this page and in this chapter, this is why you're a dumb hoe. Like that's so I think that's one of the other big things about keeping it like in a naval combat metaphor. Right. And again, we are attacking ships and ideas, not people.
Right.
So you take a cannon and you fire that cannon at a ship, not at a person.
Right.
We're not at people. And that's one thing in the modern era of discourse that I've missed a lot is that a lot of people forgot that part of it. So they get upset because they think that we're firing at them. And that's not true. If I ever... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and people get so defensive. Like,
oh my God.
So it's wild. It is... And I personally have not, thankfully, had to... get into arguments on Twitter with people about specific series. Not about actual manga. But I
know where you ma'am.
But I have definitely seen people get so upset about something that someone else like. It's so strange to me. It's strange. Like, and they insult each other. It becomes more than just like, oh yeah, I don't like this character ship. It's like, oh, you're this or you're that because you like it.
Right. And I think it's weird to me because I'm always a certain level of, again, like us as fans were weird. We always kind of didn't like each other, and that's fine. But like this level of vitriol and then like not being able to come together. Because I think I mentioned this during our last live stream, which was 4 fucking hours, by the way. Thank you all for stuck with us. But that live stream was 4 fucking hours.
So
wild. But like we were still able to come together when we needed to. It seems like a lot of the infighting really is to the detriment of these fandoms, because now you have more normies than ever looking in and being like, y'all are fucked up. Because at least then when we had that, it was like having company over at the house. Again, like siblings.
Right.
When you have company over, don't you all look like the Von Trapp family children, and you all, you have your outfits on and you love each other and you pretend like you all have dinner every night together and not in your rooms, but like, because companies, did I too close to home? So like, I'm an only child. I don't know how I know that. But like you do that in front of companies. So like when people attack our stuff, we can all put together that front and be like, no, we're not crazy. And then, you do all the crazy when no one's looking. Now everyone can just see our crazy all the time. And you have older fans in the back just like, no.
Calm down.
They're watching.
It's not that serious.
It's not. And also, this is something I didn't put in the outline, but I do think is important to mention. At the end of the day, we're talking about cartoons and fictional characters.
Yeah.
And you can be very passionate about these things, because I've made a literal career out of it for several years.
Yeah.
But me not liking a thing almost never means that I don't like you as a person.
Right.
Or that I think you as a person. And I say almost never because sometimes it is indicative of a type of person. Sometimes.
That's fair.
Sometimes it is indicative of a character type. Like if you're going to continuously be belligerent about a literal cartoon.
You can we are recording though. So
this is the ghost we talked about last live stream. Oh god. That's fine. I feed my heart. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was the ghost from last episode. Oh god.
I'm annoyed that he just he knew very well.
He just stood there. Shit. I'm old and fat. That could have killed me. Oh Lord.
He just stood there.
Was that which one was that?
That was Matt. He's home from work.
Damn it, Matt. You know better. Shit. Tell him I'm upset with him. Text him immediately. Text him immediately.
He's probably he probably wants to change. I mean, he could walk through. I don't know what. We're not live, Matt.
You can. Should I avert my gaze?
No, he's got clothes on.
Okay.
And he's fine. Hold on, let me. And I can always edit it out if I need to. Jeez.
Your family isn't supporting our craft. I don't like it. Your family is being homophobic towards
and racist.
Your family is being homophobic and racist. We had a cryptid child at first, and now we had a scary white man.
And he just stood there too. I was like, we're recording, and he was just like,
yeah, we have dances with ghosts in the background. I just made a dances with wolves joke.
I mean, he is native.
The year of our Lord.
He is native. He is Choctaw.
I think you're the only person that can say that, and I will not roll my eyes 50 times.
Right? No, because he really is.
I'm saying you're the only person. I live in Texas, and everyone's a Cherokee princess. Do you want to go back to our episode now? Thank you. Okay, just making sure. So let's go over some vocab. Aisha, were there any words on here that you did not know?
Okay, so let me pull up. I'm looking at the outline. Look at me. So
as we're recording, I'm looking at the outline.
Yes.
You don't get a lot of praise for that, but you get some.
So, rare pair is one that I had not heard before.
Okay.
And actually, I think that's the only one. That's the only one that I just hadn't ever at least seen, because I use the word ship. I remember when I first started seeing the word, I don't remember exactly when, but I do remember years ago I started to see the word ship, but I didn't actually know what it meant, but I was able to, infer the meaning just from context. And so I started using it, not fully knowing all of the definition, but having an idea of what it was.
Okay. Fair. So I'm going to go over some vocab. And so this is where we also have to mention, we are talking in the boys love space. These words do apply for really all fandoms and all things. So this terminology is used really across fandom. So if you are super Hulock, which saying that word hurt my soul a little bit. You remember Super Hulock? Do you remember those days? You just being all quiet on the Western Front. We're just two old, haggard people with PTSD. I remember the fandom wars of 2007. Oh man, Super Hulock. So realistically, any fandom that you're a part of has a lot of these terms and terminology. They're more fan terms than they are just boys love terms. There is a pissing contest of who started what first.
Interesting. Okay.
I think at this stage, every fandom will say they started it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Right.
I think it was really fanfic culture that started to commodify these terms and codify them. But yeah, every fandom at this stage will say that they were the first on the hill, and that's not true. So
we both, I think whenever hopefully it didn't record that, because I think I don't know, that was weird. Anyway, we're good.
I trust you.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Concern trust, but okay. It's rushing along. So your ship, which is also shorthand for a relationship, which is fun, which helped add to the whole naval combat thing, is a relationship between fictional characters that you support. Here's an aside. There's one thing that makes me uncomfortable, and that is shipping real people.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I learned recently. Not that I've ever been someone who's just like, oh, I'm going to ship real people, but like as someone who came into contact with these words, you know, like relatively older, I guess, than a lot of other people, relatively recently compared to, you know, like to you, for example. I not like I said, I wasn't shipping real people, but like I didn't see anything wrong with it until people started explaining it. I started hearing people talk about it. I was like, oh, that does make sense.
Right.
Because, like I said, I never was just like, oh my god, I ship these people. But every now and then, you know, I might see someone, I don't know, like I can't think of people, but just, you know, you see people like actors or something.
Right.
And, oh, they're cute together. Oh, I'd like to see them together. But I would never like sit down and write fanfic or.
That's why I almost always specify as fictional.
Right.
Because so there's like a whole thing of like shipping YouTubers, especially.
I think I've seen people
and like that I'm not crazy about. The only place with shipping real people that I have a little bit of gray area with is like actors who have like cemented their role. So like I'm a bit of a Captain America and Iron Man shipper. But like as of now, that's Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. Like you cannot like when I am thinking of Captain America and of Iron Man, it's Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans.
Right.
That's awkward a little bit to ship them sometimes because most writers or artists will sort of envision them as those two real human beings. So again, for me, it's not usually as bad because it's usually not masturbatory to me, but it is still a little bit weird because it's like, for me, it's an issue of consent.
Yeah, that's fair.
You guys didn't ask for this, and this isn't what you would do, I'm assuming. So for me, it's just weird. I'm not here to shame anyone if that's your thing. It's just not something that for me has been consistent over many, many years of fandom.
I think where I've seen it, where I personally had seen it the most is when I used to be a K-pop stan, not like a stan like the people, but I used to be a huge fan of K-pop. Like back in 2009, I was SHINee. To this day, I still love SHINee. I will always, anyway. But you know, like I remember there was a time when I would see people like shipping certain characters, and you know how they have like the fan cams and stuff, and
aren't they a little bit queer-baited?
Aren't they a little bit what?
Queer-baited? Like, don't they kind of hype up some of that closeness?
Sometimes, yeah. Like, so it is played into, yeah.
Visual K and J-Rock has that to like Miyagi and Gact back in the day. Like, oh my god, Gact was the most homoerotic J-Rocker ever, and like he would super lean into that, like pretty much like fucking Mana on stage. Sometimes it's like, cool, we're here for this, you know, horny 17-year-olds. You know, I mean, just look at the music video for Vanilla. Like, just okay, cool. This is what we're doing. So for me, if they're leaning into it, I'm less upset by it.
Okay.
Because then it's a little gravitation thing, where like you guys are profiting off of queer baiting and it's working, so you wouldn't do this if you weren't comfortable.
Right.
But if it's like I was reading fanfic late one night because I was trying to avoid the pain. This one, yes. Did I do it again? Mission accomplished. And there's this one fanfic author that I will not name because I usually enjoy their work, but like they had a bunch of like BuzzFeed Unsolved fanfic.
Wait. I know we're not supposed to condone
Dare. No. They have girlfriends.
I know.
No. First the furry deviants and now this. No, I'm gonna have to leave the show before we get canceled. They have girlfriends, Aisha.
I know. I respect it, and I listen. I would never be that weirdo who's like under the comments like but in my head,
it's a ship you can see.
Absolutely envision because, oof. First of all, I think they are both attractive. Like in such a I don't know what it is. Maybe because I've been watching them for so long.
It sounds so gross right now.
I know. I sound like a
creeper. I've been watching them for so long. They've matured and become beautiful in my eyes.
I'm pretty sure they're the same age as me. Oh my gosh. I hope so. That
closer to my age.
Well, okay, you're still an adult. They're still adults.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a consent issue.
But no, I know that. Okay, I know, and I would never actually like.
You're right. It is your age.
Okay, see, I was gonna say they have to be my age.
Oh, Ryan is younger.
How much younger?
29.
What?
29.
He's 29? Ryan is 29?
That's what the internet says.
Ooh, I don't want to be caught on camera.
You just willingly said you'd read fan fiction of two human men. I think we don't need to. I think there's other things we need to worry about.
That's true. I fully thought he was definitely older than 29. I mean,
it's not a consent issue, but like, it's one of those things of like. So here's the thing with shipping real people. Sometimes like that one is one that I can air quote see. I don't support it. I think
I know you know. I just
understand how that conclusion is reached.
And can you just
no?
Because listen,
you sound like all those
Shane is videos. Because Shane is so like you see how tall he is. He would make an excellent. Oh, okay. I'm stopping. I'm sorry.
With a real human person. You're gross. You are. I was always worried that I would be the problematic one, that I would be bringing you down, that I would be ruining your squeaky clean mama of the internet image. No, I was wrong.
Can you not picture?
No, I can't because they're human beings with autonomy. They're not puppets for me to like now kiss.
I would pass out if they ever. Oh, okay. See, look.
You are a gross person, and I can't. I think I hate this more than you wanting to hop on Lugosi. You know what? You can have Lugosi. That's fine. He actually might be into that. Shipping is the art of putting those characters together that are in your ship. I say art because realistically, it should be artful. It shouldn't just be jump cut, smash privates. It should not. Your shipping manifesto is typically a document that will prove the validity of your ship, especially if it is on Canon, which we will explain Canon shortly.
Right.
But your shipping manifesto is usually there, and that's where you pull your sources. So, like, on page this, chapter X, they touched hands, which means, ergo, they are married. Like, typically it's a little bit more than that, but I've definitely read some shipping manifestos that were like, they looked at each other. And they fucking like, okay.
See that I probably wrote that.
That was yours. That was your shipping manifesto. Like they were on the same page. They fucking okay.
And their panels were next to each other.
Right. It's not even the same page. It's on like the same like volume. A rare pair is a rare obscure pairing. I love rare pair. There are some pairings that are so rare that like some people think that they're OCs.
Oh.
Which I think is great. There is a smut artist that I know who does a Kamui Lee and Bok Chang from D Gray Man. And like that's like his bread and butter. And like they're such a rare pair for that series that like, oh my god, your OCs are great. And he's like, these are from D Gray Man. Like, what are you talking? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, so I love a good rare pair every once in a while. And like if you want to see a great shipping manifesto, I'll have to dig it up. But his shipping manifesto for Kamui Lee and Bok Chang, I think is like litmus test level of this should be what you strive to be if you're going to write a shipping manifesto.
I would like to see it.
I'll have to dig it up. I don't think I deleted my Tumblr. I just like removed all of like the links to it because I support sex positivity. So I stopped going on Tumblr, but I'll let me see if I can dig up his shipping manifesto, because I think that's like, this is what you should ascribe to do if you're going to write a shipping manifesto. So I'll see if I can dig that up for you guys, and maybe we can provide some show notes. An OTP is your one true pairing, and this is the pairing that you feel the most strongly about per a giving series of all time. So if you guys have been listening to our live streams, which I hope that you do, we have a pretty good time when they're not 4 fucking hours long, or even when they are.
It was a fun time, but whew.
It was a good time, but like shit, I was recovering for a minute.
Yeah.
Whenever people ask me questions like that, like I immediately push back. It's like, per what? For what series? For what genre? Like, what do you mean? Because like, I'm not a person who has like one OTP to reign above them all. Okay. I probably have an OTP per series that I care about.
Right.
Like, you can't just say, what is your OTP? It's like, of existence?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've read too much and have too many couplings that I like to just choose one to rule them all. Well,
right. And like, honestly, even and I'm jumping ahead a little bit because we're going to talk about our top ships. This is a very current list for me. Would probably not be the list it is if you would ask me this question maybe this time last year.
Right.
And this list is probably subject to change.
Yeah.
And it's actually, if it's a fully reflective list, because there's so many, but like, hey, these are the ships that I'm super into right now as of this moment in the year of our Lord 2020. I'm getting ahead of myself. Your OT3 is a polycule of 3 characters from a given series or of all time. Again, don't ask me of all time. I can give you per a series. Also, I forgot to mention this at the top of when we started. I mentioned that we're talking in the boys love space. I also mean that we're excluding OCs or original characters. So your gay fan fiction where you make a boy insert character and make another character gay, we're not talking about that right now. Canon. And canon is true and accurate per the series from the author. This is not disputable. So in Gravitation, Ryuichi Sakuma, his birthday is April 1st. That is accurate canon. You cannot say it's the 2nd. You cannot say it's the 3rd. You can't argue that point. That is from Maki Murakami, and that is true. Now, there are instances where you can use canon to support other things, or more or less what isn't in canon to support your argument. So in a lot of queer ships, it's not ignoring that there's an obvious canon hetero pairing.
Okay.
It's used all of the other times that we focused on the queer pairing.
Okay.
Think of Naruto. Back in the day when everyone was shipping Sasunaru.
Right.
So no one really focused on the fact that, well, Sakura's right there. What they focused on was how much more chemistry and how much more time Sasuke and Naruto spent together.
Right.
So that was using things that were canon to support your argument.
Okay. So
a headcanon is an idea pulled from the series by fans that you should be able to support. So what is a headcanon that I have? I know a headcanon. One of the headcanons that I have is Roy Mustang also suffers from bipolar disorder. And I was able to pull research about bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. I was able to look at how other characters talk about him and his mental illness. And I was able to look at a lot of his characterization and character guides and come up with this headcanon that in addition to his PTSD, that he might also have bipolar disorder.
Right. So
that was substantiated. I did my research. I looked into it. That's a headcanon because it's not confirmed. It's no one says it.
Right. Yeah.
But it's an idea that I have when I'm looking at this character, when I'm looking at how he acts and how he interacts. So like, he might also have this. You'll see a lot of headcanons on the internet. Like one of my favorites actually is the proliferation of people who think certain characters are trans.
Okay.
Like trans headcanons, I think are fascinating. And I do not say that in a pejorative way at all. Like I genuinely, as a genderqueer person, I am fascinated by what characters people will attach in their heads as, because so also that's another thing about headcanons that I think is fascinating is that they tend to almost become canon within the fan community.
Right.
So one of the ones,
sorry, go ahead.
So one of the ones that I see a lot is so about like trans headcanons. In Pokemon Sword and Shield, Leon, he's the champion of Galar. While there's trans headcanons realistically for every character, 75 to 80% of the trans headcanons you see feature Leon.
Okay.
So that kind of became like a collective consciousness thing, which makes sense. If you're looking for trans representation, who better to do so than the cool, caring, kind champion Galar?
Right.
So
interesting.
Right. So I love it when headcanons almost like become canon.
Yeah.
Because that's fast. Another one is actually I'm gonna go ahead and show my card where I come off as really, really tsundere because I have to mention My Hero Academia. Dobby is a character that everyone sees, and for some reason in the fan universe, universally his dick is pierced. For whatever reason, fangirls have decided that he has a pierced dick.
Interesting.
And like most of the art with him that's smutty all has that. Like there was a council meeting, and everyone came together and was like, "Yeah, Dobby has this," because it's certainly not canon. No one is talking about it.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those weird things that like, you see it enough and you just start perpetuating it. So that's the cool about headcanons, that they don't always just start and end with you. Sometimes they do continue. And honestly, they can kind of become canons. Like, as far as I'm concerned, sure. We don't know what's under his pants at this stage in canon. Be free. It could be a Jacob's ladder. We don't know. Headcanons can also include a wide amount of other media. So like your paintings, songs, other things. I love seeing like, oh, well, I have a headcanon where like these characters like this song. I think that stuff is kind of cute. Again, you should be able to substantiate it, but like you can have a headcanon about a ton of stuff. I actually think that like headcanons are some of the most fun parts of this process of fandom. I will emphasize, you should be able to substantiate it somehow.
Like it can't come out of just thin air just because you want it to be. Yeah.
Like it might sound random to you when it's like, oh, Dobby has a pierced dick. If you look at this character, everything about this character screams he probably has a pierced dick. So it's like, you know what? Run with it. Like you should be able to substantiate these things somehow. Like you can't, even with trans headcanons, and again, I will not put undue pressure on my trans brothers and sisters.
Right.
I get where those come from, and most of them usually can substantiate a reason behind that. But if you're going to have any other headcanon, like especially like, I will put more pressure on the headcanons that are like mental illness or autism related. I do think that you need to kind of be able to back those up. Loving. And I say that as someone who is neurodivergent and does have mental illness. I wouldn't throw those around
all willy-nilly.
Well, just without being able to rationalize it.
Yeah.
That's also, I think, one of the things that really like kind of muddied fan discourse is just being able to like throw something out like, this character's autistic. Okay, why? Why do you feel this way?
Right.
Nothing about this character has shown any type of neurodivergence. Like, I don't know what this really came out of nowhere. And like, if you're doing this, like
assigning certain,
like you're assigning things that have very real consequences.
Right.
So like that's why I went out of my way to say when I made that headcanon about Roy Mustang being bipolar, I went out of my way to say this is all the research I did.
Right.
Like I wouldn't throw that around.
Right, because that could lead into a dangerous territory of perpetuating negative stereotypes, maybe.
Exactly. And also there's a lot of self-diagnosis, TBH. That's one thing that fans are great at is self-diagnosing, and I say that from experience, so I say it with love, but we are great at looking at fictional characters and being like, that's a me.
Me.
I will say be careful about that.
Right.
I mean, your headcanon should be fun and they should be exciting. Like, oh, I think like headcanon, this character really likes this thing. Fine, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to substantiate it somehow. And if you can't, at least explain why you can't.
Right.
If you can't substantiate it, I want to know why, but also why you still feel that strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me. Like, real talk, you don't owe shit to anyone, and that's fine. But like,
yeah, right.
Writer to writer, I would like to know why you feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you can't back it up.
Right. I do think I like that you mentioned writer to writer, because I do think that, like, if you're listening right now and you just have headcanons just to have them in your head while you're reading or whatever, or watching,
free,
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I think in the case, if you're writing as a fic,
yeah,
like, that you want people to read,
right,
you should probably make sure that you have things to back it up.
Well, and that's just good writing. Like, headcanon or not, like, you should be able to explain the decision you made.
Right. Yeah.
And even if the decision is I want to, you should still be able to explain why you want to.
Right. And that's just, like you said, good writing in general. You can't just put a character in a situation just because you want to, and it doesn't make sense for that character's, like,
motivations or
motivation. Yeah. Like,
yeah, that's just basic good writing.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one we have is an AU, or an alternate universe, which is a universe that deviates from canon.
I'm very familiar with as a Clamp reader.
Most of the time. 75% of the time I hate these.
Listen, again, as someone who is a Clamp fan and has read pretty much all of their works now, except for I still haven't finished Cardcaptor Sakura or Clear Card, but a huge chunk of their works are alternate universes, and I will say I hate to see it.
Okay, so I do like some canon alternate universe, because that's actually something about Tsubasa that I really liked. Just like all like the world hopping. I know not everyone liked it.
There are things about Tsubasa that I do like. I do like the world hopping. I know this is not, see, listen, I could go, oof, this is.
I triggered Aisha.
Triggered me. I always like to think in my head that I don't get that like worked up or excited about most series, but when I do.
It's fine. I'm meaning this again in the fanfic headcanon term. I say I hate them mostly because, one, they get so specific sometimes, and two, they're usually such huge deviations from character.
Yes,
like it's unattractive deviations from character, because like you can go AU that I think still fits the character. I think that there are ways to do it. It's hard, but I think that there's ways to do it. But like, oh my god, there was one, and this fic is infamous now in me and my friend group, and it's an Attack on Titan fanfic with Levi, and it's a stripper fanfic set to Yeah by Usher. This was on DeviantArt. This fanfic is a legend in me and my fan group, because one, Levi is the most asexual person. Two, that's so specific. That's so specific.
Why that song?
Why that song? Why not make love in the club? Like, what? Why that one? Like, that's so, and that's such a huge deviation, because there are some characters that definitely don't make sense outside of their universe. He doesn't make sense outside of that universe. He was an exotic dancer. Who is this for? I mean, that person, obviously, but like, who is this for? Yeah. So, my ship has sailed, or my ship has sailed, that means that your ship has been confirmed as canon. For most people, this is the highlight of their fan existence. For me, that usually means that there's some bullshit queer baiting happening, and I call shenanigans. Like, like, even if the series is gay, if my ship sails, I'm like, suspicious.
I don't trust it.
I don't trust this. Like, I could have been on this ship forever, and if it sails, it's like, concerning. You just ride off into the sunset on this giant boat. It's like,
I mean, but sometimes, you know what, though? Like, I know that there is a lot of discourse around the whole queer baiting thing, but sometimes I'll take it. Like, I'll take it. I'm just be honest. Like,
I don't think I'll ever take it just because I hate it. Like
I mean, again, I'm a Clamp fan.
You're also low key trash.
I'm also not even low key.
I'm gonna give you low key. I wouldn't associate with you if you were high key.
Mid key trash. Yeah,
you're moderate key trash. The last one's Going to War. There's actually this really cool website called Art Fight, which will let you go to war. There's also usually like prompts and stuff like that. But Going to War is usually like a duel between artists. So fan fiction writers, fan artists. I love going to war. I have not gone to war in a while just because I'm old and that means a time limit and I don't have time for that shit anymore. I have not like written fan fiction under duress in a minute.
Right.
It's like, you have 1,000 words, 30 minutes, go. It's like,
Oof, the stress.
Right. Like I haven't done that in a minute. I'm old now, so I've gotten very, very used to like, if you want to write 5,000 words in a night, cool. If you don't want to touch this for 5 years, also cool. So I have not been in an art fight in a minute, but I remember art fights and they're very, very fun. I also mostly just like seeing the art that's produced from art fights. Like, here's a prompt, run with it.
Right.
And then two artists come up with like, this was the prompt. So those are our terms and terminology. I hope that you learned a lot. We also need to talk about something with ships of how ships appear, because how they appear, one, usually tells you a lot about who's writing or drawing your work, but also usually has a lot of important context clues behind it. So for me, I maintain the old ways of, I put an X usually between the pairing names. So nowadays you'll see a lot more of names fused together.
Yeah, I've seen that with some Haikyuu shit.
Yeah, so you'll see more names fused together. I'm fine with it. Order is important. Your seme almost always goes first. So one of my OTPs is Makoto and Haruka from Free, which means that I put Mako as seme. You can inverse that, and some people do put Haruka as seme. I don't. So that order is important. Additionally, using Japanese versions of character names is important. So like I use the example of KBDN, which is Kibana and Dande, which is Leon and Ryhan for Pokemon Sword and Shield. That's their Japanese names, which I think is cool. It does feel like you're talking in like some kind of like weird code, which I enjoy.
Makes me think of like Girls' Generation, like what is SNSD? That's what it makes me think of.
You'll also get fun ship names, so like Hot Wings is one for My Hero Academia, which is Hawks, who literally flies, and one of the two fire people that he'll sleep with sometimes, according to fan canons. So that's how you get the ship name. It's cute and weird and kind of funny. So that's your history of your shipping names. Realistically, a good shipping war or just good ship etiquette should be that you should be able to argue lovingly why you feel the way you do about your ship. You should be able to pull as much canon information as possible. Use your headcanon sparingly. Use canon as much as possible. It's just like writing an essay at that point. You don't want to use Wikipedia all day long. You need to be able to pull some primary sources as to why you feel this way.
Right.
That's important. And then it's also sharing and collaborating with other fans. So like if there's other people that are in a similar ship than you are, see if they can help you. Like, do they have other pages that like, hey, this is also a good example, or they can critique your shipping manifesto and be like, hey, I really feel like you could have gone more into this point because I feel like this is strong, but you didn't lean into it as much. As we talked about earlier, what it isn't is yelling at other fans, insults, calling each other out of your names, slurs, and not being willing to back up your shit. You cannot just
back it up.
Like, just throw this shit out into the ether. Like you, and that realistically is true for anything in life. You should be able to back up what you feel. So like if you strongly feel this way about these characters, I don't think I'm asking a lot of you to be able to say why.
Mm-hmm.
If you fully support this candidate who is running for an office, I expect you to be able to argue effectively why.
Right.
And then I can destroy you later, depending on the answer. You want to go over some of our favorite chips?
Sure.
First, because I sure to do a lot of talking. I'm tired.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll go first. My first one is probably not going to surprise anyone at all. Honestly, I think that they would be considered my OTP. That is Domeki and Watanuki from Holic. I love them. I have, like, from the moment I started reading that series and Domeki entered in, I was just like, yep, these two, that's, and you know, again, Clamp is they're good at queer baiting, because up to this point, and I've read Holic Ray, the 4 volumes that we got, they are still to get, like, it's still there. Like, it is still, they are still they're teasing me.
Mm-hmm.
With these two, like, anyone who's read Holic or even watched the anime and then has read Holic Ray, like, the things that Domeki does for Watanuki, like, they are in love. They are a couple. Mm-hmm. They are a couple. But if, I don't think it's ever actually going to. I would be surprised if it actually happened. But if you read,
that's so weird to me, because, like, honestly, I tend to ignore Clamp during a lot of this stuff, because, like, for me, these things might as well be canon. They're just being homophobic, I guess. Like,
it's so strange. I'm
like, there's nothing about, because I know the pairings you're talking about, because, like, I am a very low-key Clamp fan. Like, I've consumed a great deal of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't think I'm as big of a fan of it as others are, because I feel like with Clamp, it's usually pretty hot. It's either hot and cold.
Yeah, 100.
You're either the biggest fan ever, or you hate it and want to spit on it. Right. And I'm like one of 5 people that's somewhere in between.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, it's like, this stuff is so weird to me, because it's just, one, it's the most egregious queer baiting I've seen outside of, like, a DC television show.
Oh my God.
It's one of the most egregious queer baiting I've seen ever.
Yeah.
And then 2, it also, like, just makes sense. Like, it doesn't even feel like queer baiting. Like, that's just
their
pairing, and you should say it.
And it's, and speaking of, this is it. Well, I'll just mention my next one too. It's another Clamp title, Toya and Yukito from Cardcaptor Sakura.
3 of yours are Clamp titles?
Is it 3 of them?
Oh, is it 4?
Wait, hold on. Let me see. Oh no, 3 of them really are.
All of yours are Clamp titles.
So the third one is Kurogane and
that's
5.
So that's the one for me. I mean, Yukito and Toya as well. Not to cut you off, but, like,
yeah, you're fine.
They're just, first of all, Yukito and Toya are just married. We just need to accept that. Kurogane and Fi are clearly married.
Like, freaking, okay, anyone who, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it. But
we're going to spoil some shit.
Yeah, Kurogane literally cuts his arm off to help Fi. Like,
there's also that weird vampire thing that, like, no straight man would ever do.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
Like,
I mean, okay, Kurogane and Fi are really, like, they were my favorite part of.
Oh, they're great.
Except the only other favorite part was I loved seeing more about Watanuki and his, like, how, because Tsubasa and Holic cross over, and there's some things with that, and I wanted to know what happened to Yuko, because she is my waifu. But anyway, Kurogane and Fi are, like, one of the best parts of.
Oh, they're great.
I love them.
Chemistry, like,
yes, I would have loved to see.
Talking for you, but, like, my car is named Kurogane, like, so.
I love it. I just love them, and I would love to see a series centered around them, just the 2 of them, world hopping. Let me see them world hopping.
Same. We could have lost the kids episode 1 and it's just been fine.
Immediately. I didn't give a shit about
fanfic.
I didn't give a shit about Sakura and what's his name? shower, whatever the fuck. I don't even like them in Cardcaptor Sakura either.
You don't know his name.
I don't even, because it doesn't matter. I don't even give a shit about Sakura and Shaoran or Lee or whatever his name is in Cardcaptor Sakura. I don't care about them. In Cardcaptor Sakura, I care about Toya and Yukito.
Hateful. It's their show.
I don't care. I need for people to stop writing stories about characters I don't care about.
Okay, you're supposed to care about them. It's their show.
No.
That's bad writing because we don't.
I refuse. But yeah, so basically 3 of my ships are Clamp. I
noticed that. I'm like, are all of you
I didn't even notice until
is all of your hatred Clamp?
So
you have one basic bitch one that I'm kind of upset about.
Okay, listen. Okay, so we'll just go with the basic bitch one, and that is Kagahina from Haikyuu. That is a very obvious. I mean, it's fine. But in my defense, I haven't gotten far enough in Haikyuu to really have another ship yet.
To have taste.
Wow. But I do love them. And also the other character that I love the most, Asahi, I ship him with myself. So I'm definitely not shipping him with nobody else.
Are you problematic for that?
I mean, he grows. There's a time skip. I haven't got to the time skip yet.
If you have to say that, you're in the wrong. If you have to say that,
I have a whole thing on Twitter where, like, because I was when I first started watching Haikyuu, I didn't know anything about it when I started watching, and so when I first saw him on the screen, I was like, "Who is this grown man? He's fine." And then I found out, like, literally, like in the next clip that he was a high schooler, and I was like, that's upsetting. I tweeted about it. I was like, that's like, he looks 35. He looks like a 35-year-old grown-ass man. And I was upset. And so now I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that time skip so that I can publicly
mention this during our 4-hour live stream. It's fiction. It doesn't matter.
That is also true. Now, my other ship is one that I don't think a lot of people will know, because I don't know how many people have read Flower of Life by Fumi Yoshinaga.
3 Americans.
Yeah.
You're looking at 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, the only other person I know is my friend G. She has also read, and I don't know anybody else. So Harutaro and Shota from Flower of Life, they're really, so to give you some backstory, like they're I was actually really disappointed because, you know, Fumi Yoshinaga, she has all her BL stuff. So I fully went into this thinking that I was going to get some cute, like, obviously not like explicit because these are high schoolers, but I thought it would be like a cute little, like, a little.
No, and it goes like sojo right at the end.
And it wasn't. Like, there is no BL relationship. I was very disappointed because the 2 of them are very cute. Like, Harutaro is tall, and he's like, in the story, he is back in school after being gone for a long time because he had like leukemia or something like that, some sort of cancer that he's supposedly in remission for, and he's back in school. And Shota is this friend that he makes pretty quickly on, and he's like a little short, little plump cutie pie, and they're just so cute because you have like Harutaro, who is like Fumi Yoshinaga's kind of like the type that she really.
He's Tachibana.
Yes, pretty much.
Tachibana.
Yeah. Or yeah.
I know.
Yeah, like yeah. And then
there's 5 Americans that have read this, and you're looking at 2 of them.
Right. I know. And Shota is so cute, which I've in one of her I think in her Not Love but Delicious Food, she talks about, she actually in real life apparently likes bigger men. She likes men who look like they eat. And so seeing her, how she drew Shota, he was so precious and like chubby. And then the 2 of them together, I was like, can y'all date? And then they don't. But so I do ship them. I ship them a lot. There is a Yuri pairing in that series that I definitely ship, but since this is not a Yuri podcast, I won't mention them. Also, I can't remember their names because I'm terrible with names. But yeah, so those are my type. Those are my top 5.
No, it also told us a lot about your type.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, you guys are going to learn a lot about my type because I'm going to go into my pairings next.
I'm excited.
So I've actually mentioned a couple of them already. My one big one, honestly, is Mako and Haru from Free.
I still haven't watched.
It's okay. I've always thought they had the better chemistry. I always thought they had the better dynamic. I always thought they had the better relationship. And so I have here's something like me as a fan is I'm obsessed with like lists and boxes. Like I have like an entire box of like bad sons from anime. I have a list of anime crushes, but there's only like 2 or 3 names that are on the list of like husbando. Like I am very reserved with like actually like this is the character that I would marry.
Right.
And Makoto Tachibana is on that list. He is
to look him up.
So nice and so kind and so supportive. Because I hate Funk Jean-Baptiste. But like that's not someone who you're supposed to like settle down with.
Right, of course.
He's a man who like isn't gonna hit you.
Listen, the fact that I'm still just looking at you like
like I would get down with plenty of characters that I know would be bad for me. But like put a ring on it. Let's stick with characters that would not be abusive. Thanks.
Right. Yeah.
So Makoto is on that list. He's very, very nice. And I feel like his dynamic with Haruka makes the most sense because I do feel like he challenges Haru. Like one of the big gripes, because the other main pairing for that people assume is Ren and Haru, because Ren's kind of like the rival. It's like, oh well, Ren's the one that challenges Haru. It's like, first of all, Haru's a goddamn lazy ass mermaid. He doesn't care. He's not looking for a challenge. And like Mako is one of the better swimmers on the Iwatobi team, so like he does challenge Haru. So like that's an example of using like canon stuff to back up your point and like being able to like refute, because like that's one big thing people say when they go Ren and Haru is like, oh well, Ren is like the real challenge, and it's like, yeah, but if you look at the times, Mako's not bad either. So next up is actually if you've listened to me a lot, I love Axis Power Tatalia, and one of my main pairings was France and England. I think they're very cute together. I just think that they're adorable together. They have a very, very weird, like old married couple energy in the series. They have an adorable, like angry old married couple energy, and that's very much like something that I like a lot. I don't know what it is. And like one of the last like big RPs I did was doing France and England with a really, really close friend of mine who's no longer a friend of mine, but you know, relationships come and go.
Yeah.
But like I've always loved their relationship, and like that's another one that like people will dispute who the UK goes to, because sometimes they'll put him with America, and it's like that's weird, but okay.
I don't see it.
Hitalia,
I never saw. I guess I shouldn't judge because I haven't seen.
I mean, you sure had an answer though.
I sure did, but I was thinking
it's weird because it's never explicitly gay, but there's like no women. Or the female characters that we do have are usually like supporting the men.
Right.
Have a ton of chemistry. So like it's never explicitly gay.
But it's gay.
But it's pretty gay. And the weird thing
anime is gay.
Realistically, yes. The weird thing with Hitalia too is that like pretty much any combination of characters you want, there is probably root for. Because it's based in history and it's personified countries. Well, they've all talked to each other.
Right. They've all fucked each other. like
right. So like pretty much if you want to pair Japan and America, there's historical and canon precedents for that. If you want to pair, oh god, who is the other one that like people would dispute about occasionally? No one knows who Austria goes to, because either he goes to Germany or he goes to Prussia. But Germany and Prussia are brothers. You should go to both. You should not go to both. Germany and Prussia are brothers, so it's either like he goes to Prussia or he goes to Germany. Even though he was canonically married to Hungary, but they're divorced.
Okay.
Which is also historical.
Right.
So, Yeah, it's a weird thing of like pretty much any pairing that you could want, you could probably find historical context / canon context for it. There are definitely favorite pairings, like consistent, obvious pairings. But yeah, pretty much like the cool thing with Hetalia is if you want to make it happen, you can probably make it happen, and you'll probably have some footing in it. Like you're not just going to be like Antarctica and this rock. Like it's not going to be like weird like that. Like there's probably some rationale you have behind it. So I've done a My Hero Academia smut kick because I've been bored, and Dobby and Hawks is one that I've really, really gotten into. They're just bad people who have a ton of chemistry together, and I like that. Also, Hawks' design I think is great. He's a flying twink, and I love him.
That's so interesting. I don't know enough about MHA to like get into the fanfic, but I've mentioned that I have a mutual on Twitter, and she'd be following. I'd be seeing stuff, and I'm just like, oh, you're the reason why this fic ends up on my timeline somehow. And I'd be seeing some stuff that has me like,
you know what?
I have to see it.
And this is where I sound really, really tsundere. If this series started off the way it is right now, I probably wouldn't hate it as much as I do.
Oh.
And if we had a different POV set, because I'm with you at this stage. Like, still to me, most of the main cast is boring as shit. So, like, if you take away half of your POV cast and set it where it is, like, right now, I actually think this is really interesting. And even when I first started watching My Hero Academia, I always thought I had interesting ideas, but the execution was boring. Like, I always thought that it actually had a really, really interesting concept behind it, which is actually rooted in a dumb, like, American comics thing that I like a lot, which I probably explain. So in the Marvel comic universe, there's this thing called the Green Cross, which is a fund set aside for any damages done to property by the Incredible Hulk. So like the bureaucracy and stuff like that of heroes is something that I've always been interested in. And like that's a big thing of My Hero Academia is this is pretty much being a celebrity. So you need to learn about ethics, you need to learn about press, you need to learn about all that stuff. Like it's an image to maintain, and heroes make money. And if you're an influencer or not, like that can make or break you. Like so like it had a lot of really good ideas. Just every character they threw at you was boring as fuck.
Isn't it kind of like that? You're probably gonna roast me for that or for this, but that low key sounds like One Punch Man.
It's what One Punch Man is lampooning.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna roast you. You're not wrong. You're not right, but you're not wrong.
Right.
It's what One Punch Man is making fun of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like there's actually a lot of really interesting ideas in it, but like just your main POV cast is boring as shit. Like, you're just it's all of the worst of shonen writing. Of here's your overpowered main male who has no flaws and is stupid.
Which is why I like One Punch Man, because they make fun of that.
Right. I don't like it because I feel like people take it too seriously and they're missing the point.
How do you miss the point of it?
Because fans are stupid.
I'm so surprised. Like
I'm not.
I thought it was obvious. It's supposed to be.
No. Fans are dumb and they like taking things seriously. We just spent the last hour and a half talking about that. We just spent an hour and a half saying that.
I will say that Saitama could get it. His ball.
You were gross.
He could get it.
You were actively a gross person. Mentioned this one earlier, which is Ryhan and Leon from Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think they're great. There's not a ton of canon precedence for them outside the fact that Ryhan is Leon's rival. So that usually means that they probably touched dicks in the past. By shonen law, that means they probably did something gay once. By the law of shonen anime, that means they probably did something gay in the past. You laugh, but am I wrong?
You're not wrong. It's just I pictured it in my head. Yeah. I was like, doop.
Yeah. It's like E.T. Like boop.
Ooh. I hate you.
I think they're just I think they're a great couple. You probably could find more canon reasoning behind them. I personally don't need a lot of it. I'm good. They're rivals. And again, like most of the time, that's usually pretty heavy coding for they spent a ton of time together. They
Mm-hmm.
know each other very intimately. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that hasn't changed. Like they're adults now, like they're canon adults now, and they're still rivals. Y'all are married, is what
Well,
you're saying.
and you know what's interesting that I mean, there's literal like shoujo romances built around that with the two, like the main couple, they are rivals, and it's totally code for not even code, but like
It
it's
just is.
totally used as the way that they spend time together. I'm thinking about Special A, you know,
Mhm.
and so it's interesting how it's okay in that, but these a lot of these like um shonen, seinen, you know, adventure type battle series, they don't want to do that. They don't want to give us that. Why
Because
not?
one, it's gay and no one likes that.
Yeah, homophobia.
But two, also like for me, again, like it's just bad writing when you do stuff like that. Because there's always that person who's like, well, why do you have to make it gay? Like they're rivals. It's like, but listen to what that means. They have spent an inordinate amount of time together. That is a person that you hold in such high regard that you want to be better than them. You have spent literal weeks, months, years of your life with that person. If you don't form a bond, you're a sociopath.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And especially in these shonen series, the female characters are given so little to do.
Right. Like
That,
they
of
ain't fucking the girls. So who
all of the chemistry is between all the guys. All of the chemistry, all of the character arcs, everything is between the boys. And then they throw a girl in because no homo.
randomly.
Yeah, no homo. They can't make it gay. But
God.
it's like, I think about I'm thinking about Naruto again. Sasuke and Naruto have been together for what, 20 years now?
Listen, they've been fucking.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Just from like they've been
from jump.
Yeah.
From that queer bait kiss that we all saw all those years ago. Like if you don't form a bond, and yes, you can have friendships that go on for that long.
Yeah, of course. But
like real talk, that's intimate.
Like I'm friends with people. There's people that I'm friends with. I've been friends with for years, and we don't talk to each other the way that some of these.
Right. I think that's my thing. It's like I don't talk to you that way.
Yeah, I'm just like because like these people, they're like thinking about each other. That's all they think about. Listen, I love my friends, but I don't be thinking about my friends.
No,
like that.
And that's such intimate power to give to someone.
Right.
Like, I want to be better than you. Mm-hmm. To what end? Why?
Because he wants to put his pee-pee in his.
Right. Like, it's so weird. Like, you're right. Like, it's a trope that we're fine with in shoujo and even in Europe. Like, it can't be gay. But yeah, like, honestly, a lot of it's no homo. And
yeah, it really is. Yeah. Don't even get me started on Yuri and how
the rival trope is. They love the rival trope in Yuri.
They also love the whole, like, it's just a phase.
Well, Japan loves that. Like, Japan has pretty much accepted that you're going to go through a gay phase and they hope you grow out of it.
Right. It's annoying.
The problem is that
I say it's annoying. I'm not. It's annoying to see it in manga because I'm like, just make it. It's fiction. You can do whatever you want in fiction.
Right. We know it's detrimental in real life. In fiction, it's annoying.
Right.
We know and acknowledge in real life it's detrimental and damning. We know. In fiction, it's just tired.
It's just annoying.
My last one is actually one that I mentioned last episode. I've really started to accept Hughes and Mustang from Fullmetal Alchemist, like up until the point that Hughes gets married. Right. I think up until his wedding day, I can see them being in a relationship. But like the day Hughes gets married, it stops.
Right, right.
I don't know what conversation they had beforehand or the night before, but pretty much for me, up until the second that Hughes gets married,
right,
I am okay with him and Mustang.
Right.
And then after that, I'm not crazy about it. Like it's, I can set a precedence for that because there's a lot of both of their histories that aren't really accounted for. They did spend a ton of time together during the Ishbal War that they were intimately close for. And also then when you meet them, they do seem inordinately close. Like, a lot of Mustang's relationships with everyone seem too close.
Very intense.
Like, I get that he's charismatic and all, but like, all of his relationships from jump seem like you fostered this relationship very quickly.
Right.
Because I get it, like, he's canonically very charismatic and people want to see him succeed, but like, there's a couple of them that I'm like, you have a lot of dedication to this guy who just says he wants to overthrow your entire government. But okay.
It's just because he's given them all the D.
He is universally uke in almost all of those unless you put him with Ed. Mustang is a bottom.
Not put him with Ed. No.
Oh, right. I wasn't supposed to mention that.
You're sitting here shaming me.
I don't do that. Ma'am, that is not in my list. There's a lot of material of that.
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure.
There's so much. But no, that is not on my list, ma'am. I can see it. I don't support it. I can see how you would come to that conclusion.
Whew.
But I personally, that is not a ship I'm willing to step aboard. But I do acknowledge its flag and I will let it sail on.
Yeah, just over there. Just
exactly. It's like, because you know what? Real talk. You want to talk about Canon? I can see it. I'm not happy about it, but I can see it. So you just let that boat go. It's like, all right, you know, you talk shit as soon as they're gone. But like, because I mean, if you're gonna talk about like Canon and relationships and talking to each other, it's all there.
Unfortunately.
So I mean, you gotta let that ship sail. You don't have to be happy about it, but you just gotta let them chug along. And I think like that's the biggest metaphor when it comes to a lot of this stuff is that you don't have to agree with any of us.
Right.
You can hate every ship that I just listed. You can hate every ship that I just listed.
If you hate every ship that I just listed, like
you just hate Clamp.
You just right. Because these are all like I have the most basic.
Yours are pretty basic. Like I feel like at least a couple of mine could start a fight.
Like all of mine are pretty like generally accepted.
Real talk. I think most of mine are pretty acceptable. I kept most of the hot takey ones to myself because I didn't want to start a fight today.
See, I would have loved to see it.
I mean, we're friends in real life. I can tell you.
That's true.
Ask me. We talk like every day. Like you can.
We do talk a lot. It's surprising.
I mean, do you want me to stop?
No, I like it.
Okay.
It's.
You said it was surprising, like it was bad.
It's surprising on my end because if you ask people who've known me for a long time, they're just like, Aisha does not. She don't be responding.
I mean, you don't sometimes, so that's okay.
No, but I respond back more often.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. That's great. But yeah, like I think that's a good metaphor to think about it. Like I think that's one of the reasons why I like the shipping metaphor so much is that you might not like the other boats, but like you don't have to interact with them. Like it actually kind of goes back to the whole like problematic content thing where it's like
you don't have to.
No one's making you read this. Like no one's Clockwork Oranging you and like making you read any of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You can acknowledge that other boat, wave, and keep on your merry way.
Mm-hmm. You don't even have to wave.
You don't have to wave. Shit. I wave at least. Like, you know,
I mean, we're Southern.
We're Southern.
You know, you do the
shit promptly.
Right.
As soon as they're gone, like that motherfucker. You know? Yeah. But like no one's making you ingest any of this content. And like, especially with like the rise of like anti-shippers and like stuff like that, where a lot of them are minors and they're yelling at like 30-year-old adult, not safe for work artists. And it's like, you made me ingest this. Like,
no one
you lied to get a Twitter account.
Listen,
I opened up a whole other can of worms.
yeah,
But,
you
like,
really did. Because I mean,
like kids on Twitter who are like, "You made me ingest this problematic content."
no,
Bitch, no one invited
no
you.
one told you to come over here.
And like,
You probably weren't even supposed to have one. You're probably like your parents probably told you you can't have a Twitter, and you're over here hiding and sneaking around, and then you gonna get mad because you saw something that you weren't supposed to see.
and like,
Stop looking at it.
I was young. There was a fan fiction that ruined fan fiction for me for years. It was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I will only tell if you want to hear it because it's kind of gross and it made me uncomfortable when I was a kid. You want to know, don't you? So it was actually Fullmetal Alchemist. It was Ed and Al. So we already have incest.
I'm kind of sad that I asked.
First. Al is inhuman. There is some acts that are described.
Wait, Al is not
No.
human? So he's in his
armor. Yes. There is some material that goes on, but Edward is very kind and removes his head for it. So he's not fully aware of what's going on.
If they weren't brothers.
No, it gets better.
Oh, God.
The last paragraph of the fanfic is Edward having to clean Alphonse out and Alphonse asking what happened. And that turned me off of fan fiction.
I hate it.
You asked.
I did ask.
You brought this upon yourself and now our listeners. But that was so, and I'm done. That's one of those books you don't have to acknowledge. If you see them, you don't have to.
Yeah. No, don't even look at them. Don't even make eye contact.
Unfortunately, they are still on our Cs because there's no greater canon than brothers. But
I mean, people out here shipping the twins from Orion High School Host Club. So
are we not supposed to do that? Were we not supposed to do that?
See, I knew. You talk about me being a deviant. I knew you had something.
You're not supposed to do that.
I knew one day it was going to come out.
But we do agree on one more on shit.
We do.
Tamaki and Kyoya.
Oh, listen. I'm surprised that I didn't put them in on my list.
I was trying to cause fights because everyone's like, "Oh, Haruhi's great." Haruhi is a mess.
I actually do like Haruhi, but I also very much relate.
I don't like her
in a lot of ways.
The thing is that she's kind of I know we're not supposed to talk about Harry Potter because it's problematic, but she reminds me of Hermione, where she's too self-aware for the series.
That's what I like about it. I think it's funny.
Well, but that's the thing though, and I think we've mentioned this a few episodes ago. Mm-hmm. I don't like it when you're so detrimental, when you're so self-aware that you're detrimental to the series, because it's you're right. None of this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it 5 more times, I'm still aware of it. You're not helping.
Yeah,
you're right. None of this makes sense. Congratulations.
We get it.
We get it. Now I'm bored because I'm aware this doesn't make sense. I just think that and again for me also, and I didn't mention this, I also tend to pick pairings that I think are more interesting and that challenge each other a little bit more. So I think that Kyoya and Tamaki genuinely have a more interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I really like them.
I think they're great
together.
I just genuinely think that they have a better dynamic. They have a better rapport. I think they bring more to each other's tables. That's the other big part of a lot of queer ships, especially, is because occasionally I'll come off as kind of anti-ship, and it's no, I'm not anti, or at least anti-canon ships, and it's that's not usually true. It's usually that, again, especially for the hetero ones, a lot of these female characters are just super poorly written, so they don't bring anything to their male counterpart, or they get so dumbed down to be with their male counterpart.
Right. Well, because their only purpose is to be like, huh, no homo. He's not
Right.
gay. Like, he likes ladies. And it's like, does he though?
Because like he sure has spent a lot of to make it about Naruto again. Like I loved like the dogged determination that Naruto chased after Sasuke with. Like Sasuke is looking at him in the eye. Hey, fucker, don't chase me. And then
Right.
Naruto immediately, we gotta go after him. It's like he just looked in the goddamn eye and said, "Leave me alone."
Mm-hmm.
And you're still gonna go, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're still gonna go. You're gonna do this for 20 fucking years. All right, go. For sure, you're super straight and you're super married to that one girl. And that's something that a lot of fans will use as like canon. Like, hey, here are all these examples of not exactly straight guy behavior. Like with Kodofai.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, here are all these things that go above and beyond bro code. Because I don't know a single pair of straight dudes that are like, yeah, I'll let you bite on my neck for eternity.
Right, right. And also I'll cut my arm off for you. Like
there's not a single pair of like straight bros that I know that are like, yeah, I'll be your blood bag. Because that's something that just two hetero bros do for each other.
Yeah.
There's kin I wouldn't do that for. Shit. Like so that was a not so brief
No.
of ships and shipping. We certainly hope you enjoyed this lovely episode. Aisha, where can people find you?
Obviously you can find me here on this channel.
Yes.
The Yaoi Shelf on our Twitter. We have a Twitter.
You have a Twitter.
Yaoi Shelf at Yaoi Shelf.
Yes.
You can find me on YouTube at MommaLuvsManga, Twitter, Instagram. I'm kind of back on there again. And on my website. Yeah, I'm kind of slowly getting back on Instagram. I post like once a week, maybe.
The last photo I took on Instagram was I was leaving Total Wine, and they had a cart that said trash cart, and I was like, same. And I asked the lady at the cash register, like, may I take a picture of your trash cart? And she's like, yes, you may. Because ask, don't be a dick. You don't know, ask.
Yeah.
So I'm like, may I take a picture of your trash cart? And she was like, okay. And it's like, thank you. You may find me also on this lovely channel and on our Twitter, which, fun fact, see if you can find the tonal difference between which host is posting. Because we have two completely different styles.
I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because like whenever I have posted, I have in my head, I'm like, okay, let me try to keep up with Amanda's tone. It doesn't. We're so different.
So it's hilarious, but like I think you can very obviously tell who is tweeting what.
I'm really gonna have to just let you.
I think it's kind of endearing though, because I think like that's our show.
I noticed it and I was like, I'm gonna have to just let Amanda do this because it's so obvious.
I'm like, do you? Because I don't ever want it to be like a dictatorship. Like it's fucking Twitter. Like it's not an oligarchy. Like you can tweet. It's our show. Like I don't want it to be like this is Amanda's frozen gulag of Twitter. But like it's so obvious when it's you and it's so obvious when it's me. Like, using a Haikyuu pairing, which I would never do. I was like, that's obviously Aisha. I would never. I have used the same 5 shows on a loop.
You have.
You can obviously tell that this isn't me.
Yeah,
standard.
I definitely noticed, and I was like,
I think it's endearing. If it's distracting to you, our listeners, let us know. We probably don't care, to be honest, but like, TBH, we don't care. But we want to hear from you. I think it's kind of sweet. Even in the comments on YouTube, like I'm tempted to have us start like signing off because we respond so differently to things.
Yeah, we really. Yeah, that's something.
We both approach this so differently, and like neither way is like wholly right. Like
right.
There's merit to both, but like it's just so obvious that two people run this account.
I would say too that like you said, it's obvious that we have different approaches.
Yes.
It's obvious that we have two different mindsets as well. Like, and who is the more professional out of the two of us? It ain't me.
I mean, you do your best. So that's where you can find us, where you have two beautiful split-brained hosts. Next episode, we are finally covering Boys Love webcomics. This is where I'm going to go ahead and say we'll be mostly focusing on the West. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. Because we are an Anchor-supported podcast, if you wanted to support this podcast monetarily, you can do so by visiting our Anchor page, anchor.fm/the Yaoi Shelf. By no means is it necessary. And we will continue to do this show with or without financial support. But if you do so wish to do so, we will also not tell you no.
Exactly. We're not going to say no.
It's one of those things like I feel weird saying, because I always feel like typically when people are like, support my Patreon, it's like, or like the comic stops. It's like,
oh yeah,
no, we'll keep doing this with or without your financial support. But it's more of at this stage, I guess, like a show of gratitude. Like, hey, I /support what you're doing. Here's money.
Right, exactly. If
you also have merch.
Yeah, we do.
It's on Redbubble. We have links to that somewhere.
Yeah, we'll make sure that there's links.
We have links to that in a place. Thank you for joining us on this episode. It's been 3 hours, so I'm
tired and hungry.
We're tired and hungry, so bye.
Thank you, bye.